Alright, so I'm gonna get this exhaust leak sorted. You can see just how filthy things got just from the two screws loosening just a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the tank and pull the engine, clean up the chassis, and then reinstall things and set the mesh, and it should be good to go. So it's pretty filthy. So I've decided that I'm going to pull off the rear end. I'm not going to disassemble it fully, but I'm going to pull it off and clean it and clean the chassis and then reassemble. You can see just how dirty the engine is. That exhaust came pretty loose, so I'll get this stuff cleaned up, and then I'll probably change the header screws. Alright, so got these parts cleaned off. I used the compressor and just some paper towels. There's still a little bit of oil on the engine, but it's fine. It's much cleaner than it was. I replaced the header screws and I replaced the gasket as well. The gasket was cracked. So with some Loctite on there and new gasket, hopefully that is sealed. The rear end was disgusting as well. Did the same method with the compressor and some paper towels. It's much better. Same with the chassis and the transmission. So it's all pretty clean and ready for reassembly. And here we are, back together again. I still have to reinstall the tank, and I have to set up the brake linkage. But the chassis and stuff is clean. Engine's been cleaned off, new gasket, new exhaust screws. The gear mesh is set perfectly, and this car is ready for running again. Alright, with the tank installed and the brake linkage done, it's actually complete now, so get this ready to get back out on the road for testing. And we'll move on to the next Super Nitro. I've had this one for quite some time. It came with this body. The only things that have been replaced are the chassis. I won't go into that, but this is where it's at currently. I haven't driven it yet. So I wanted to do a big block, but the issue I'm running into is the space between the end of the clutch bell and the belt. I just cannot find anything to fasten it in place, you know, screw it or clip. It's just a really awkward thing to find. And after years of searching and trying, and I mean, this car has been literally a couple of years in the rebuild process, so I I think I'm just going to change my idea. I can definitely use this engine in a different project, so I think I'll do that because I've got this, and I think this will be the perfect engine for this car. And I read the manual, and it calls for this glow plug. I'll get a nice new clutch and flywheel. So before dilly-dallying any longer, I'm just going to go ahead and scrap this idea and do an engine swap so I can drive this car. So I'm going to go ahead and look for a few more parts that I would need to get this working and come back with things a little switched up. Alright, so after some experimentation and fitting, I'm finding I'm still having the clearance issue, even with this engine. The way these old clutch bells work with the roller bearings, you have to fasten the clutch bell onto the shaft at the end. And it does work in some cases, like here on the single speed, because you have plenty of room between the end of the bell and the belt. So what I'm going to need to do is just order one of the new clutch bells that looks more like the Fortec one that comes on the RS43. So that way I have plenty of space between the end of the bell and the belt. So this project will have to wait for a new clutch bell, and that will still enable me to possibly use this engine. So still a little undecided on which route I'll take, but this project will be on hold in a good way for now, just to keep things moving. And I'll start driving this one heavily now that it's been cleaned and, you know, refitted. So stay tuned to see this one driving, and stay tuned for the future completion of this one. So that's it for the Super Nitros from HPI. As always, thank you for your interest in Nitro. Thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one.